Welcome back to day 6 of the debates in the Speaker's National Youth Debating Competition. This morning was the third debate in the quarterfinals, and this afternoon's debate will conclude the quarterfinals. The winners in these quarterfinal debates will move on to the semifinals next Tuesday, July 6th, where they will battle for the final spots, which will be held on the 9th of February at the National Convention Center. Immediately after this debate, we will have the live draw and pairing of moods to teams for the semifinals. This afternoon, esteemed judges are our Chief Judge, Ms. Nazima Ragbir. Ms. Ragbir is a print and broadcast journalist. In 2018, she became the first elected woman to head the 76-year-old Guyana Press Association. She serves on the boards of the Jamaica headquartered Media Institute of the Caribbean and the University of Guyana Broadcasting Trust. For all her working life, Ms. Ragbir has been in the media as a writer, a reporter, a managing editor, and a news presenter. She has had stints at Prime News and has been the editor of Insight, a public affairs journal. She is also a string-on correspondent for a number of regional and international news organizations. Ms. Ragbir has also authored and edited several print and multimedia productions, including a published guide to the Parliament of Guyana. Our next judge is Ms. Anisa Mohammed, head of our Learning Channel, Ministry of Education. Ms. Mohammed is a mother of two and has been involved in the private communications sector for more than 10 years. Before joining the public service, she was a chief executive officer in one of these private communication entities. Ms. Mohammed is very, very passionate about career choices, technology, education, and women's rights. She is also a published author. Our third judge today is Mr. Rion Miller, former youth parliamentarian. Mr. Miller was the best debater in Youth Parliament 2018. He was also the senior counsel for the winning team at the CCJ International Law Mooting Competition 2019. Mr. Miller holds a Bachelor's of Law degree and is a second-year law student at the Hewarding Law School. Mr. Miller is also a member of the Caribbean Airlines Parkside Steel Orchestra and a founder and creative director of Pan Jazz Concerts. The proposing team today is the Grove Diamond Youth in Development. This group is a non-governmental organization which is registered with the Ministry of Culture, Youth and Sport and also under the Friendly Societies Act. It was established in July 2009 by a group of young persons, Ms. Anjani Ramdial, Mr. Chatagun Jadupat, Mr. Andre Yagval, and Mr. Sheikh Hassan. The founders thought at the time it was a great idea to assist youth, especially school dropouts and the less fortunate, in the Grove Diamond area by creating activities that will equip and enhance them with skills to help themselves as well as others. There are some 20 active members in the group. Their first speaker today would be Ms. Bibi Wazida Yassin, 22 years old, but she's from Luziknan, East Coast, Damarara. The second speaker is Mr. Naresh Sugrim, 22 years old, from Herstelling, East Bank, Demerara. And their third speaker is Mr. Romario Svetnam, 26-year-old, from Diamond Housing Scheme. The opposing team is the Golden Om Dharmic Youth Organization. The Golden Om Dharmic Youth Organization aims to make a difference in society while serving as a voice for every youth, regardless of their religious affiliation. It seeks to inspire youths to live a positive lifestyle and rise above the ills of society. The Golden Om Dharmic Group operates on three pillars: knowledge, discipline, and service. It has five broad areas of focus, namely youth empowerment, humanitarian, education, culture, and sport. The group is led by Pandit Deodat Prasad, who is the president, Mr. Chandradat C. Prasad, the vice president, Priya Ramlochan, secretary, Danwantri Prasad, organizing secretary, and Savitri Ramlochan, treasurer. It operates within the East Berbice area. Their first speaker would be Mr. Chandradat C. Prasad, who is 25 years old, from Reliance Settlement, East Kanchi. Their second speaker, Chandradat Jagdeo, 19 years old, Adelphi New Area, East Kanchi. And their third speaker, Savitri Ramlochan, 18 years old, from New Area Canefield Settlement, East Kanchi. The mood today is Guyana should not legalize marijuana. Guyana should not legalize marijuana. I now declare the debate open and call on the first speaker from the proposition, Ms. Bibi Wazida Yassin, from the Grove Diamond Youth in Development, to make her presentation. Ms. Yassin, you're on.
Can you all hear me clearly?
Yes, we can.
The mentality and behavior of drug addicts is wholly irrational until you understand that they're completely powerless over their addiction. Russell Brand. Honorable Mansour Nadir, Speaker of the National Assembly, sagacious judges, members of the authority, a pleasant afternoon. We are grateful to be presented with the opportunity to bring to our attention all the reasons as to why Guyana should not legalize marijuana so as to prevent a situation that can and will birth catastrophe, whether or not the opposition is blindsided of the fact that marijuana is a recipe for disaster. As the first speaker of the proposition, IBB Wazida Yassin stands ardently in full support of the moot, which reads, and I quote, Guyana should not legalize marijuana, unquote. Impartial judges, before I examine my arguments, permit me to define the key words in the moot. Not is used to stand for the negative of a group of words that comes before. Legalize, to allow by law. Marijuana, a drug illegal in many countries that is derived from the hemp plant. Considering the definition of the pertinent terms, we redefine the moot to mean that Guyana should not allow by law a drug that is illegal in many countries. With this in mind, I will lay the foundation of our argument as I elaborate on the current affairs of marijuana in our country and its overall powerful addiction. Our second speaker, Nara Subrim, will unearth the repercussions of the use of marijuana, and our final speaker, Romario Swetnam, will concretize our argument as to why the legalization of such a drug can and will pose as a threat to our developing nation. Distinguished judges, intelligent opposition, an interview conducted by our team with the the Attorney General and Minister of Legal Affairs, the Honorable Mohabir Anil Nandalal, just 4 days ago. He said, and I quote, the legalization of marijuana in Guyana has been an ongoing debate over a decade ago, unquote. Wise opposition, isn't this ringing a bell? In addition, in 2015, a bill was laid by the then government in relation to the legalization of marijuana. However, this bill was put on hold after the church met with the president. Guyana is a conservative society where religious organizations play a major role in decision making, and And we must respect that majority of our religious body, taking into consideration that 57% of our people are Christians and 6.8% are Muslims. Learned members of the opposition, are you instigating that we should respect the views and beliefs of majority of our religious body? Furthermore, marijuana was studied by the U.S. National Institute of Medicine in 2013 and revealed that it contains a psychoactive compound called tetrahydrocannabinol, THC, which is proven to be addictive, with 81.9% of persons that try this drug are now addicts. Remember what Russell Brand said, and I quote, "They're completely powerless over their addiction," unquote. Vice members of the opposition, are we going to allow by law the use of this drug that can and will pose as a threat to our nation? Learned opposition, this is exactly why Guyana is dilly-dallying to allow this drug by law, and the government is only reviewing the act to remove custodial sentencing for adequate amount of this drug rather than move it anywhere close to the legalization of any quantum so as to save us all from a disaster. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Bibi Wazida Yassin from the Grove Diamond Youth in Development Group. I now call on Mr. Chandradat Sipasad from the Golden Om Dharmit Youth Organization, their first speaker, to make his presentation. Chandradat, you're on.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Honorable Speaker, esteemed judges, colleagues all, greetings. I, Chandradat Supasad, fourth Speaker of the Opposition, rise to contest the moot under consideration. In operationalizing the moot, the key words are identified as legalized and marijuana. The Oxford Dictionary defines legalize as to decriminalizing something that has been illegal. Marijuana, also called weed or ganja, is a greenish gray mixture of dry flowers of the cannabis sativa plant, according to the same source. We, the opposition, interpret the moot to read that Guyana should legalize marijuana. I will focus on the legal ramifications discrimination, and religious purpose of marijuana in laying the foundation of our arguments. My second speaker will advance our position on medicinal benefits, and my third speaker will highlight the economic importance. Marijuana is embedded in deep historical, cultural, and religious significance in Guyana. The CARICOM Commission on Marijuana recalls that the United Kingdom government during the 1930s designated marijuana as an unlawful dangerous drug. I wish to report that the same authority which have inspired our current law are now shifting their position. In 2019, the BBC reported that cannabis is to be legalized in the UK soon, with medicinal usage already being made legal. The current law is demonstrated to be inconsistently applied when compared to the other harmful substances such as alcohol or tobacco, which are not prohibited, criminalized, or demonized. Members of the proposition, why should any nation criminalize persons for using a plant that is naturally grown? All is not lost in Guyana. Guyana is seeing the light, and yes, the conversation has started in the 11th Parliament, where the repealing of the Necessary Act. During the 16th sitting of the 12th Parliament, an amendment to the Narcotic and Psychotropic Bill was tabled in the National Assembly, which now sits at the Special Select Committee. The light is seen by both the government and opposition legislators, since this was an election 2020 promise on both sides. Members of the proposition, it is time that you also see the light and to allow the chastel to blaze. Compassionate judges, this bold step of legalizing marijuana would be celebrated as removal of a tiny mode of repression. On June 27th, during a protest, the Guyana Rastafarian Council asked, why should a nation continue this state-sponsored injustice? Mr. Speaker, Article 40 in Guyana's constitution protects and guarantees freedom of worship. Yet, Mr. Speaker, paradoxically, the Rastafarian community continues to be impacted. The Secret History of Marijuana article notes that Rastafarian religion requires a believer to consume, distribute marijuana as sacrament and medicine. Justice, Mr. Speaker, can never be a two-bladed sword. On one hand, there is freedom, yet that freedom is denied. Are you suggesting, members of the proposition, that these citizens' rights continue to be ignored? In Hinduism, the Atharva Veda, cannabis is regarded as the most sacred plant on earth, consumed by Lord Shiva. In worship, devotees are required to offer bhang, a drink made of marijuana. During Holi, the same is consumed in India. Regrettably, honorable judges, Hindus in Guyana are forced to forego these practices to avoid conflict with the law. In India's Sabrimala case of law, it was reaffirmed that state must not interfere with how faiths are being practiced. Any such delay in decriminalizing marijuana is freedom denied. We must stand unified to free the weed. I rest my case.
Thank you, Mr. C. Prasad. The second speaker for the proposition is Mr. Naresh Sugrim from the Grove Diamond Youth in Development Group. Mr. Sugrim, you're on.
What the chat?
It's okay. Go ahead.
Speaker of the House, Honorable Mansour Nadir, erudite judges, wise informative members, good afternoon. I rise as the second speaker of the proposition to continue our quest in full support of the move. As was outlined by my team's leader, I, Naresh Sugrim, will unearth the repercussions of the use of marijuana. Distinguished judges, the opposition may want to expound on all the medicinal benefits of marijuana as it relates to the therapeutic effects. Yet, they will sweep under the mat that marijuana has negative implications that outweighs the positives. According to the U.S. National Institute of Medicine 2016, and I quote, there are existing prescription drugs that are more than capable of providing the same therapeutic effects of marijuana while contributing to long-term uncontrolled complications, unquote. Members of the affirmative side, the same study revealed that marijuana have severe effects on cognitive impairment, including effective executive functioning, processing speed, memory, perceptual reasoning, and verbal comprehension. It also states that 72.8% of marijuana users have suffered from severe respiratory ailment, while 66.3% of the addicts would have suffered from immunological defects. Are these a characteristic we want for an ideal youth? Members of the proposition, if this doesn't tip the scale for you, I don't know what else will. Additionally, studies from the U.S. Institute of Medicine 2016 stated that, and I quote, marijuana impairs the ability to judge time, distance, and speed in drug-related motor vehicular fatalities. Marijuana is the most common drug detected with the exception of alcohol, unquote. Based on the post-mortem studies, Couch et al. That marijuana was likely an impairing factor that is as many deadly accidents as alcohol. Take, for example, our continental neighbor Uruguay, who legalized the drug, is facing the bitter end of the stick, as was reported by the Society for the Study of Addiction in 2020, and I quote, marijuana legalization was associated with 52.4% immediate increase in light motor vehicular fatality rate, unquote. Impartial judges, let's not fool ourselves. We are all aware of the already existing issue that alcohol abusers create. According to an article from the Guyana Chronicle newspaper dated 27th of April 2020, and I quote, the destructive effect of alcohol on families, relationships, and the social consequences are well known. Children often most severely affected, as many go hungry or they are subjected to abuse or neglect. due to having alcoholic parents, unquote. Wise members of the opposition, why would we want to add to this with another drug that can and will work catastrophe? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Naresh. And now for the second speaker for the opposition, another Chandradat, this time Chandradat Jagdeo from the Golden Om Dharmic Youth Organization. Chandradat, you're on.
Can you guys hear me? All protocols observed. I, Chandra Jagyo, second speaker of the opposition, firmly support my colleagues in opposing the move. Marijuana should not be legalized in Guyana, considering the numerous medical benefits to be derived. To further substantiate from the first speaker, the Ayurveda mentioned marijuana usage by ancient Indians, given the medicinal property to improve their memory and fight leprosy. Data Intel, a USA research body, in 2020 concluded that the global marijuana market is rapidly growing at a rate of 18%, given the increase in legalization for medicinal and adult use of the rising geriatric population in need for chronic pain. The same sources note that marijuana legalization is propelled by increasing scientific studies. Dr. Alan Carter, a clinical pharmacist, said that marijuana reduces pain caused by arthritis, fibromyalgia, migraine due to cannabinoid compounds. Individual with ADHD uses it as a safer alternative to Ritalin and Adderall. The European Networks Limited research shows that marijuana helps with glaucoma. They further emphasize that through experiments that it improves circulation, weight loss, decreases mood swings that cause depression, lowers mood, help children with autism to control violent mood swings and combat epilepsy. In fact, Dr. Amy Brooks-Kale, Chief of Medical Pediatry of the University of Colorado School of Medicine, highlighted the success she encountered using marijuana to help children with epilepsy. Of the 75 patients with pediatric seizures, there was a 50% reduction in seizures using medical marijuana. CNN documented one of those children, Charlotte Fiji of Denver, Colorado. She suffered multiple seizures since childhood. However, after treatment, she was able to live a normal life. WHO stated, and I quote, 50 million people worldwide are affected by epilepsy at the rate of 4 to 10 per 1,000. However, for middle and lower income countries such as Guyana, that figure is 7 to 14 per 1,000, end quote. Can you imagine the number of Guyanese that can be helped if marijuana is legalized? Further, marijuana can be used as a substitute to curb alcoholism. The World Health Organization noted that 15.6% of Guyanese are alcohol abusers. A study published by the Marijuana Project stated that, and I quote, the risk of marijuana is approximately 114 times less than alcohol. The National Institute of Drug Abuse conducted a research with marijuana users and concluded that, and I quote, the majority of drug users who use marijuana do not go on to use harder substances, end quote. Learned members of the proposition, given that the fact that it is 114 times safer than alcohol, would it not be in the best health interest of all Guyanese to legalize it? Aforementioned success stories and the many health benefits derived, I am compelled to advocate free to weed. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chandradat. The third speaker for the proposition is Mr. Romario Svetnam. The proposition is the Golden Grove Youth in Development Group. Romario, it is now your turn.
Thank you. Esteemed judges, members of the opposition, viewers, good afternoon. I rise as a third and final speaker of the proposition to conclude my team's argument in full support of the move. Our first speaker elaborated on the current affairs surrounding marijuana and its powerful addiction. Our second speaker unearthed the repercussions of the use of marijuana. And I, Romario Svetnam, will concretize our argument as to why the legalization of such a drug can and will pose as a threat to our developing nation. Distinguished judges, affirmative members, let's dabble with the issue of control. Unfortunately for the opposition, we're not here to sugarcoat anything. Alcohol and tobacco use are legal, and how many persons abuse these fall in prey to the repercussions. Legalizing marijuana, even in stipulated amounts, surely makes it accessible to the majority, which will be a downfall for the younger generation, as we all are aware of the accessibility of alcohol and the resultant effect. According to the WHO's 2004 Global Status Report on Alcohol, among Guyanese youth, males on average take their first drink at 11.9 years old, and females at 12.5 years old. Those statistics are the worst in the entire Caribbean. As we know, we will never have control over the individual intake, and this is exactly why Guyana cannot legalize marijuana. Honorable judges, permit me to share data collected from an online survey that was conducted across the 10 administrative regions of Guyana. It revealed that 71% of Guyanese are not in support of Guyana legalizing marijuana. 62% of Guyanese indicated the legalization of this drug will result in the crippling of our nation, thus hindering its development. In addition, the survey unraveled an alarming concern as it pertains to crime rate. 67% of citizens indicated the legalization of this drug will lead to the increase of crimes in their respective neighborhoods. Sure, possession will no longer be a crime, but what about the increase in larceny, abuse, as our second speaker would have mentioned? Not forgetting this mind-altering drug increases the possibility of far more heinous crimes. Learned opposition. According to the National Institute of Drug Abuse, July 2020, and I quote, the use of marijuana acts as a gateway to the use of more dangerous drugs, such as heroin and cocaine, due to the fact that the body builds tolerance to THC levels, end quote. Intelligent members of the opposition, or so I believe. What's next? Legalization of crack cocaine, heroin, and for what? Just a higher high? Furthermore, members of the opposing team, as a still developing nation, can we really afford to allocate resources to the control and management of yet another drug? We can't even control the use of alcohol, let alone marijuana. But wait, why are we even debating the legalization of marijuana in Guyana when 71% of citizens are not in support? I thank you.
Thank you very much, Romario. And the final speaker from the opposition is Ms. Savitri Ramlochan from the Golden Home Dharmic Youth Organization. Savitri, it is now your turn.
You hear me?
Yes, we are hearing you. Go ahead.
All protocols observed. All protocols observed, I, Savitri Ramlochan, rise to bring finality to our argument. My colleagues elaborated on a number of benefits associated with legalizing marijuana. I will expound on the economic world. Mr. Speaker, the Global Cannabis Report estimates that the cannabis market is forecasted to be worth up to $103.9 billion US, with the medicinal cannabis market worth $62.7 billion by 2024. The economic benefit is driving countries to legalize marijuana. The South Florida Caribbean News in February of 2021 looked at the Barbados Medicinal Cannabis Industry Act as a hopeful mechanism to decrease the national debt by bringing in $6.35 billion US. Uruguay began exporting marijuana in 2019 and doubled exports in 2020 to $7.3 million, according to the country's budget. The Jamaica Cannabis Licensing Authority reported more than $1.34 million US from May 2019 to July 2020 in revenue from marijuana. Erudite judges. In economics, there is a concept of opportunity cost. Guyana continues to lose both finance and human resources. Guyana Drug Information Network 2018 notes that 106 persons were convicted because of marijuana. The fine is $30,000, and the report noted that sentences range from 6 months to 4 years imprisonment. Members of the proposition, imagine the many youths languishing in jail for possessing a few grams of marijuana. Guyana's Attorney General, in tabling his motion, argued that decriminalizing marijuana, and I quote, aims to reduce recidivism, prison overcrowding, and decriminalizing marijuana and the burden on the criminal justice system, save state funds, and ultimately rebuild lives, especially youths, for small usages, end of quote. Former Director Mr. Samuel stated that the Guyana's prison system is overcrowded by 29.7%. Why add to an already existing problem? In Colorado, a 2020 Leafly.com article showed that the US $10.73 billion industry, while providing 24,000 jobs, also pays for scholarships and rehabilitation for its citizens instead of sending them to prison. I dare say we cannot put a cost to the stigma our youth face when incarcerated. Proposition members, for the avoidance of any doubt, we are not urging the reckless and wanton use of marijuana. Marijuana usage must be controlled but not made illegal. When legalized, farms will be subjected to regulation, taxation, and required to pay licensing fees, all bringing in profit in a structured manner, unlike what obtains at the black market presently. Mr. Speaker, in balancing the cliched social issue concern arguments against the religious, medicinal, and economic view, the natural must take precedence. Any perceived negative impact can be addressed at an institution level, but first, the legalization process is necessary. Hence, I say, let's free the weed. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Savitri. And there you have it. The last 6 speakers in the quarterfinal debates. The final debate this afternoon between 2 groups, the Grove Diamond Youth in Development Group and the Golden Ohm Dharmic Youth Organization. Let us give our debaters an opportunity to gather their thoughts and prepare for the rebuttals, and ask our public relations officer from the National Assembly, Mr. Yannick December, to talk a bit more about the Speaker's National Youth Debating Competition. Yannick, over to you.
Hello everyone, I'm Yannick December, Public Relations Officer here at the Parliament. I'm also a member of the Planning Committee for the Speaker's National Youth Debating Competition, a competition which serves as a feeder into the 6th Annual Youth Parliament 2021. Youth Parliament was first hosted by the National Assembly in 2015 under the speakership of the Honorable Raphael Trotman. This year, Speaker of the National Assembly, the Honorable Mansour Nadir, thought it best to widen participation to allow more youths to become knowledgeable of the institution of Parliament. 16 youth groups from across our educational districts are participating in this competition. 8 of those groups will advance to participate in Youth Parliament 2021. What's in it for you, you may ask? Trophies, plaques, cash prizes, tablets, and a laptop for the best debater in the final debate. The final debate will be held at 2 p.m. on Friday, the 9th of July, 2021. We are pleased to have you tune into this competition and promise that you will have robust debates from our debaters. I will now hand you over to the Speaker of the National Assembly, the Honorable Mansour Nadir.
We are now at the last debate, waiting for the 2 rebuttals, the last 10 minutes of the quarterfinals to commence shortly. Before we bring our debaters back for the rebuttals, I also want to join Yannick in speaking about the competition. Next Tuesday, I think it is July the 6th, would be our semi-finals. And already we have 2 groups that qualified this morning, and earlier this week, last Tuesday. And those groups that have qualified are, this morning, it was the Cummings Lodge Youth Group. They qualified. We also had on Tuesday, we had the Ornock Sport Club from Port Kaituma and the Queenstown Youth Group from Essequibo. So we already have 3 groups going into the semifinals, and this afternoon, in a matter of another 20 minutes, we will know who will proceed to the semifinals from these 2 groups that just presented. Golden Ohm Youth Dharmic Youth Organization from the Kanji area of East Berbice, and the Grove Diamond Youth and Development Group from the East Bank of Demerara. All of our finalists will receive tangible rewards, cash prizes, tablets. The best debater in the finals will receive a laptop computer. Our judges today, the moot was, first of all, the moot was Guyana should not legalize marijuana. Our judges are Mr. Rion Miller, a former youth parliamentarian. He is a debater himself, and he was adjudged the best debater in Youth Parliament 2018. He holds a law degree and is a second-year student at the Hugh Wooding Law School. He is also an accomplished panelist. Our next judge is Ms. Anisa Mohammed, head of our learning channel. Anisa has been in the private media for some 10 years. She held the top post of Chief Executive Officer of one of those entities and has now transitioned to public service, where she heads Guyana Learning Channel. Our chief judge is Ms. Nazima Rakubir. Nazima, the first woman to be elected to head the 76-year-old Guyana Press Association. She is an accomplished journalist, writer, reporter, managing editor, news presenter, stringer for international organizations, and an author, including a published guide to the Parliament of Guyana. Nazima Ragubir, our chief judge this afternoon. Our judges continue to deliberate. I see on our social media platform, our teams are almost ready, and I'll give them another 2 minutes to compose themselves and get on stage to impress the judges with their rebuttals. The rebuttal will first be done by the opposition, and rebutting for the opposition will be Mr. Chandradat C. Prasad. The proposition, Ms. Bibi Waziri Yassin, will go after Mr. C. Prasad. We want to say a very special word of thanks and gratitude to the Honorable Minister of Culture, Youth and Sport and the Ministry of Culture, Youth and Sport for working with us to identify the youth groups and to ensure that this competition is a success. Thank you, Minister of Culture, Youth and Sport. Thank you, Ministry of Culture, Youth and Sport. Let me check to see if our groups are ready for the rebuttal. Chandradat, are you ready? Chandradat? Chandradat?
In a few seconds, sir.
You have a few. Okay. So Chandradat and Bibi, the two lead speakers for the rebuttals, are shortly going to be ready. Yes, this competition started with 16 teams some 3 weeks ago, and we had 8 teams moving into the quarterfinals. This afternoon, those matches in the quarterfinals, those debates will conclude, and on Tuesday we will have the 2 semi-final matches on Tuesday. This afternoon's debate is between the Golden Ohm Dharmic Youth Organization from Kanji East Berbice, and they're opposing in the moot, Guyana should not legalize marijuana. The proposing team is Ms. Bibi Waziri Yassin from Grove Diamond Youth in Development. And it's the competition is very intense and also very keen. After the announcement of the winners, we will have the live draw for the semifinals that will pair the semifinalists and assign a moot to them. That will happen immediately after the winners are announced. So now I ask again, Chandradat, are you ready? Mr. C. Prasad?
Yes, sir.
Okay. The rebuttal from the Golden Om Dharmit Youth Organization will be done by Mr. Chandradat C. Prasad. Mr. C. Prasad, it's your turn to impress us with your rebuttal.
Honorable Speaker, esteemed judges, colleagues, all greetings. I rise once again to dismiss the arguments of our proposition. Mr. Speaker, everyone is attracted to a beautiful garden with bright colors. And so are the bees. And so were we as members of the opposition to the proposition's presentation. But like the bees, sir, we found no nectar, only false claims, smoky screens, and red herrings and hasty generalization type of argument, no substance at all, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the first speaker of the proposition spoke about addiction, that by legalizing marijuana, there will be addiction. But Mr. Speaker, our position have not been, as mentioned by my third speaker, our position have not been the wanton, reckless use of marijuana. It will be institutionalized, it would be sold, it would not be readily accessible and available as in the black market, but it will be regulated, and regulations will prevent the addiction and the use that is the member so raised. All the markets cited by my third speaker are regularized, Mr. Speaker, monitored, and there are checks and balances. Mr. Speaker, she mentioned that Mr. Nandalal engaged in an interview saying that it must be thrown out because Mr. Speaker, Mr. Nandalal would have went on to table the very motion in the National Assembly, which currently sits at the Special Select Committee. So therefore, on what is the basis of such a interview, sir? She further admitted to the legalizing of small amount of marijuana in Guyana, hence contradicting their position and agreeing with us. Mr. Speaker, the majority cannot speak for the minority. The honorable member mentioned that the Muslim community is against legalizing marijuana. But sir, again I say, majority cannot speak for minority. It is unfair. It is unfair where everyone else in the minority will not always be treated. One religion cannot speak for all other religions, sir. The second speaker, Mr. Speaker, the second speaker only used one source. He said that medicine can replace marijuana usage. He even stated that actual drug would be better. But there is nothing cheaper than marijuana. But it is not cheaper. Marijuana is cheaper. He mentioned alcohol, but my second opposition speaker said that it is 117 times more safer. Isn't it a safer alternative to better from health, as mentioned by my second speaker? He speak about the reckless use of marijuana by legalizing it. Mr. Speaker, that is a hasty generalization. Mr. Speaker, all three members of the proposition spoke well about alcoholism, Mr. Speaker, but alcoholism How does alcoholism increase crimes, Mr. Speaker? How would it increase crime? That is such a hasty generalization. How does crime, Mr. Speaker? I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you very much, Chandradat. And now it is the turn of Ms. Bibi Wazira Yassin from the Grove Diamond Youth in Development Group to impress everyone with her rebuttal. Ms. Yassin, you're on.
Can you all hear me clearly?
Yes, we can hear you.
Michael?
Yes. Go ahead.
Honorable Speaker of the National Assembly, distinguished judges, intelligent opposition, I, Bibi Waziri Yassin, stand robustly for a second and final time to continue to tip the scale that Guyana should not legalize marijuana. It is quite evident that the wise members of the opposition are blindsided of the fact that the legalization of this drug can and will work catastrophe that is only a recipe for disaster for our dear land of Guyana. The first speaker of the opposition mentioned about alcohol and tobacco being drugs as well. May I ask, why would we want to add to this already social issue? He also mentioned that the act is being reviewed. Honorable judges, he failed to realize that I mentioned this act is being reviewed to remove custodial sentences for adequate amount of marijuana and not legalization. May I remind us all that the word legalized made by the Cambridge Dictionary was defined it as to allow by law. Is this, members of the opposition, are you saying removing custodial sentences is legalization? In addition, he also mentioned about Rastafarian Committee and the Hindus, failing to acknowledge that I mentioned that 57% of our people are Christians and 6.8% are Muslims, giving us a 64% of persons that are against the legalization of marijuana. Honorable judges, 64%. This is majority. We have to realize that we must take into consideration the religious bodies before we put to law anything in this country. Honorable judges, he also mentioned, honorable judges, the second speaker mentioned about improving memory and their marijuana helps in reducing pain of arthritis. My second speaker mentioned that a study conducted by the National Institute of Medicine in 2016 stated, and I quote, there are already prescription drugs that does the same job as marijuana, unquote. In addition, this study also revealed that the drug, that marijuana has severe effects on cognitive impairment, including memory and processing speed. He also mentioned that the legalization of marijuana will reduce the number of alcoholics in our country. Are you trying to say that we open a free gateway to more dangerous drugs such as heroin and cocaine? As my third speaker would have mentioned, taking into consideration that youths are already accessing alcohol. Is this what we want the characteristics of an ideal youth to be? Honorable judges, the National Institute of Drug Abuse in 2020, this is a recent, they're saying that marijuana is the gateway to the use of more dangerous drugs. Do we want this for our nation, for our developing nation? Do we want to open this gateway to that? In addition, the third speaker of the opposition mentioned about Uruguay. Yes, I do agree that Uruguay would have legalized marijuana. However, my second speaker would have mentioned that Uruguay is currently facing the bitter end of the stick, which is they had a 52.4 immediate increase of light motor vehicular accidents, among other devastating effects. She also mentioned that to decriminalize and control us, and to make marijuana to be used in a controlled manner. May I need to remind her that we cannot control the abuse of alcohol, yet another drug whose effects are easier to mask and whose effects will open the gate to more dangerous drugs. Honorable Speaker, impartial judges, it is with profound sadness that we witness the blindsided argument put forward by the intelligent members of the opposition. They are surely leading us down a road for further catastrophe. How can you members of the opposition come here to say that Guyana should allow by law this drug that is illegal in many other countries? A drug that can tamper with the characteristics of an ideal youth, a drug that is proven to be addictive. Not forgetting the words of Russell Brandon, I quote, they are completely powerless over their addiction on toast, a drug that is contradicting the majority of religious bodies in Guyana. Honorable judges, these are all the facts, and we must pay keen attention to them in order for us to save this nation from a disaster. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Yasin. And now we have to give our judges an opportunity to tabulate their scores and gather their thoughts together. This afternoon, this debate concludes the quarterfinal rounds in the Speaker's National Youth Debating Competition. The moot this afternoon was Guyana should not legalize marijuana. We had two very vibrant presentations, two very vibrant groups, and their members aggressively presenting for and against this moot. Against was the Golden Om Dharmic Youth Organization from East Kanji Berbice, and the proposition was the Grove Diamond Youth in Development. Our judges this afternoon, our Chief Judge, Ms. Nazima Raghuber, 20 years in journalism and current head of the Guyana Press Association, 76-year-old the Guyana Press Association, and Nazima Raghuber, our Chief Judge, is the first woman to head that grouping. Another female head of an important institution in Guyana is Ms. Anissa Mohammed, head of Guyana's Learning Channel, Ministry of Education. Anissa headed a private communications entity before coming into the public service. She's very passionate about technology, education, and women's rights. She is a published author. Our third judge today is Mr. Rion Miller, the best debater in our 2018 Youth Parliament. He was also senior counsel on the winning team at the CCJ International Law Mooting Competition. Rion holds a Bachelor of Law degree and is a second-year student at U Wooding Law School. He's an accomplished panelist. Those are our three judges. This afternoon, we bring the curtains down on the quarterfinals. The semifinals will be held on Tuesday. 2 teams, 2 debates, 4 teams already advancing. Last Tuesday was the Arnock Sport Group from Port Kaituma and the Queenstown Youth Group from Queenstown Essequibo. This morning we had the Cummings Lodge Youth Group advancing, and shortly we will know which of these 2 groups this afternoon will complete the semi-finalists. The finals are scheduled for the 9th of July at 2 p.m. at the Guyana National Convention, the Arthur Chung Convention Center. That also will be broadcast on NCN. We want to thank NCN, Globespan, the Learning Channel, for carrying these debates and replaying them also. Our judges are near ready. And I will now ask Mr. Rion Miller, Judge Miller, to give some comments. Judge Miller?
Good afternoon, everyone. I must say that this debate has been very exciting. From all of the, I think this is the best one yet that I've had the opportunity to judge. Some pros. Good arguments from both sides. This area is very contentious. It's been battling the nation for some time, and everybody has an opinion on it. So it was good to see that both sides could pull good arguments and they could develop their points adequately. I can tell it was well researched. Everybody had their statistics, whether medical, legal, whether from societal perspective, interviews. Everybody brought their A game. I like that in this round the teams were more cohesive, the opposition was cohesive, the proposition was cohesive, and the arguments really flowed. In terms of the arguments themselves, there was good use of false dilemma, hyperboles, good use of some generalization, but I really love the personality brought by both of the teams. They really, you know, freely, they really brought their own personality and embodied them into the argument. So kudos to both teams. Some of the cons, what I noticed in both teams, there was little reference to the actual act that makes marijuana illegal, the Narcotic and Psychotropic Substances Act. None of the sections were quoted that actually, you know, says that possession or trafficking of this substance is illegal. We could have actually used that in the introduction by both teams. Specifically, both teams, medical marijuana is actually legal in Guyana. So Section 13 of the Act actually details that a physician can prescribe marijuana for you to use. And I appreciated the evidence brought to support the use of marijuana for medical purposes, but it wasn't really relevant and it took away from your time when you were presenting. It was good to just give a cursory identification of it, but it really took away from your time to hone in on that. There should have been some more mention of the 2018 CARICOM report that basically says that, you know, free the weed. There's not much harmful effects to weed as opposed to the draconian sentences that are applied by the courts in Guyana. It could have been some more reference to that. I just heard it in passing. And the overall arguments could have been more creative. A little bit more creativity could have been put into the arguments by both teams, but nevertheless, this was a really good round, and I congratulate both teams. This was a very hard decision to make for me personally. You both did really well, so congratulations.
Thank you, Judge Miller. And now for Judge Mohammed, Judge Anissa Mohammed, your comments, please.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Given that this is a topic that the Attorney General is actually in discussion with right now for the legalization of marijuana, I was very eager to see what you would come with today. And I'm sure he can take some points from today's arguments. Very well done. Both teams put forward a very, very good argument. The end was a bit intense. The competition kind of tilted at the very end, I must say. However, lots of research is evident. You guys did a lot of research and put together strong arguments. Both teams, I commend you, and I hope that you're satisfied with the results, and I wish you good luck.
Thank you very much, Judge Mohammed. And our Chief Judge, Ms. Nazima Raghubir, will give us the scores and declare the winners. Chief Judge?
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Good afternoon, everybody, and thank you to my fellow judges. Thank you to the teams for participating today and for really bringing it in this argument. Marijuana and its usage and what it means to the country and the Caribbean as a whole is very dear to me because it's been an issue I've been following for a very long time. And it is good to hear the type of youthful debate and to know that it is something that young people are interested in debating as a topic. So it was really good to listen today. Like my fellow judges said, you know, the arguments were really good. There are some things that that really jumped out at me, and I think Rayon mentioned some of them. I would have liked to hear a lot more about the CARICOM Commission's report. I really don't think it was used that much in this argument. I only heard one reference, but I think there are things in that report that both sides could have found useful to their arguments. And, you know, there are while there are a lot of international reports and so on, I think there is a plethora of articles and interviews on this topic in Guyana and in the Caribbean that could have been used. And I saw some of the teams using some of those arguments and bolstering their arguments based on their own creativity, which I thought was very good for this type of argument. And it's so interesting to hear the term free the weed in a debate. You know, you usually hear it on the road, but it's good to hear it in a debate and being used. I really thought that the proposition would have jumped on the opposition for using that and, you know, pick up on that. But nonetheless, congratulations to both of you. For us, the team that we felt that really brought it in for this debate is the Grove Diamond Youth Development, and congratulations, you are the winner of this competition. So congratulations to you. Golden Home, you did very well. I wouldn't give the average total right now, but for us, we all agreed. Let me just say this, Chandradat C. Prasad, you were very good. I don't know what happened at the end in the rebuttal, but you were very good. But for us, we all agreed that the best speaker is Bibi Yassin. So congratulations. Thank you.
Thank you very much. There you have it. Thank you very much, judges. Ms. Bibi Yassin, I think this is the second time she's winning Best Speaker. Congratulations, Bibi. Chandradat, very good mention. Congratulations to the Golden Home Dharmic Youth Group. Continue to do what you're doing and continue to improve. We're going to definitely see you at another debating competition which we hold. And congratulations to our winners, the Grove Diamond Youth in Development. Congratulations. Thank you very, very much, judges. Our technical team will now put the program into action, the program that randomly matches the teams and assign the moods. So we have 4 teams that have advanced into the quarterfinals this week. We saw 4 matches, 8 teams, and we are now down to 4 teams moving through to the semifinals. Those groups are from Port Kaituma, the Arnock Youth Group; from Queenstown, Essequibo, the Queenstown Youth Group; from Georgetown, Greater Georgetown, the Cummings Lodge Youth Group; and now from the East Bank of Demerara, the Grove Diamond Youth and Development. So these are the 4 teams. We are waiting for Mr. Alonzo Scipio to get his entries into the random table on the computer, and these 4 teams will be matched up in 2 semi-final matches, and the moots will be assigned to them for the semi-finals. Those semi-final matches are happening on Tuesday, July 6th. The first match, the first debate at 10 a.m. and the second debate at 2 p.m. Yannick, you ready?
Alonzo, Mr. Speaker.
Alonzo, Mr. Scipio, are you ready?
Ready.
Here is Alonzo. He's going to press his button, and voila.
Mr. Speaker, all protocols observed, judges, Ms. Charles, team, colleagues. Good afternoon to you guys online, Zoom, and Facebook, YouTube, website. As you know, we started off with 16 teams, We boiled down to 8. However, today we're going to be boiling down to 4. Those 4, of course, will be going into the semifinals of the Speakers National Youth Debating Competition. And as I did before previously, I'm going to make sure I reiterate in some cases that most times, or in all cases, the Speaker of the National Assembly has nothing to do with the fixtures presented here today and those of before. As you would know, all of these fixtures would have been automated online using a software that provides automated fixtures according to the moves that we set and the days. So to avoid any social media banter, I would like you guys to, you've been complying so far, at least for most of the teams I saw. However, today we're gonna press this generate button, as you can see on your screen, those on Zoom and those on Facebook. And that will give us a breakdown, or more so the fixture, as for next week's debate. That will be the semi-final hosted on Tuesday morning in the afternoon. We have 4 teams, as you know. We have the Queenstown Youth Group, the Orinoco Sports Club, Commons Lodge, and lastly we have the Grove and Diamond Youth in Development. So I'll now press the generate schedule button, and when I press that, that will now start generating the fixture. As you see on your screen, there is a loading sign. That sign there would more so be generating the fixtures. In some cases it's taking a bit longer. Yes, so we're getting to that point. Great, so now we're almost there. It's generating the automated fixture for next Tuesday. All right, so I'm gonna ask the guy to scroll down a bit. All right, so there we have it. There we have the fixtures for next week's debate, the semifinals. The only leg of the semifinal, that will lead into the final on July 9th. So we have the Queenstown Youth Group will be going up against the Cummings Lodge Youth Group. Their moot will be based on one, oil is a detriment to Guyana. They're going to start, of course, at 10. So as you know, the Queenstown Youth Group will be proposing, and the Cummings Lodge Youth Group will be opposing in that debate. Secondly, in the afternoon session, we have the Orinoco Sports Club. That is the team from Region 1, I think. They will be going up against the Grove Diamond Youth in Development. You say I had your winner because we didn't know who was the winner going to be then. But now we know the Grove Diamond Youth in Development will be going up against the Orinoco Sports Club. They will be opposing, while the Orinoco Sports Club will be proposing. Their moot, however, is the benefits of oil production outweighs the negatives it does to the environment. Mr. Speaker, interesting moots, interesting debate. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Scipio. And there you have it. The stage is now set for the semifinals on July the 6th. The 4 groups, first match at 10, first debate at 10 a.m. And that is between the Orinoco. I can't see that one, Yannick Alonso. The first debate tomorrow, next week. Queenstown Youth Group against Cummings Lodge Youth Group, and then and then the second match is Orinoco against Grove Diamond Youth in Development. I want to say a special thanks to our 3 judges this afternoon, and once again an exciting competition, and a special thanks to Globespan NCN Learning Channel for carrying these debates live and rebroadcasting them. Thank you very much, and to our special team of organizing staff from the Parliament, thank you very much. See you next Tuesday as the competition now gets hotter. Good evening.